Today, we are going to talk about exploding your impact by shining bright unapologetically. This is about not dimming your own light to make other people feel comfortable, even if they're saying you're too bright or you're too loud or you're too opinionated. And you don't need to work so hard because you're really felt. So you're felt by those around you because you are shining bright. And I want to talk about how to break free so you can shine bright and be you unapologetically today. You're listening to the Spiritually Unboxed podcast. I'm your host, Leah Samara, spiritual mentor and authenticity strategist for highly driven female leaders. Each week, we'll dive into deeper conversations, empowering you to live your most authentic and wildly impactful life beyond religious, familial, and societal boxes. Welcome to the deep end. Subscribe so you don't miss a show. Before we dive into this episode, I have a little announcement, and that is this is the last episode in season 2 of the podcast. Season 3 will be launching very shortly. I'm thinking around in 3 to 4 weeks' time, so there won't be a massive break. What I want you to do is go and hit the subscribe button right now so that you don't miss any episodes when they come out. I also want to let you know that we have some incredible guests lined up for season 3. You don't want to miss it. We're going to be talking about deconstruction, the purity movement. I've got someone lined up to talk about finding your soul family and becoming power couples, like all kinds of exciting things. So you do not want to miss it. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you very shortly in season 3. So you want to be more impactful, and really impact is about having the influence to make other people feel you, especially when it is online. You see, when we're in person, it's really easy for us to connect with people, to pick up on their body language and their signals that they're sending us and their energy, and to know how we're being received. And for the person who has generally, like if you've had that good Christian girl conditioning, for example, you've learned to really constantly watch the signals of other people and pick up on those signals, and to be able to really tell when they're with you and when they're not with you, and when they're approving of you and when they're not approving of you. And online, it can be a whole different ball game. So I want to talk about shining bright online and offline today, but specifically, we really need to focus on it's the way that we make other people feel. Shining bright isn't about being, super high energy all the time, or super happy all the time, or super joyful, or what are the other misconceptions, or just looking amazing, having your makeup perfect, having your face look flawless. It's about none of those things. It's actually about the way that you show up and the way that you are felt. So it's more about energy than it is about any of those kind of external things. And you don't have to kind of like hype yourself up, make your super high vibe in order to be felt, in order to be more potent and more impactful, in order to shine bright. This episode is about how to become the woman who is more potent and impactful, because she does shine brighter, and she shines brighter unapologetically. And so I'm going to call her the queen. So you guys will often hear me talk about the queen, or the good Christian girl versus the queen. And I'm going to introduce some other archetypes in this year that you guys are going to love, and they're going to make a lot of sense to you. And so the queen, she doesn't slow down. She doesn't dim herself down. She doesn't dull herself down. She doesn't pretzel herself to try to become what she believes other people want her to be. She can see that other people have perceptions of her, yes. She's picking up on those things, but she's not then adjusting herself, and she's not on hyper alert scanning and looking constantly about what are other people thinking of me. She's in her own lane, doing her own thing, working on herself, working on her mission. She's excited and she's lit up and she's doing all the things. So she's not adjusting herself, and she's also not on hyper alert. Tall poppy syndrome is very predominant here in Australia. I've heard that it is in the UK as well. And it's when anyone comes a little bit too high or a little bit higher than anyone else, we kind of mock them and cut them down, and we want them to slow down. We want them to come back to our level because that's what makes us feel comfortable. And you think about whenever you interact with someone who is doing better than you, how is it that it shows up in your body? How is it that you respond to it? It's very interesting to look, and that tells you how much you're in touch or you're anchored into your inner queen versus being in, say, a little girl persona like the good Christian girl. And so the queen, she's got nothing to prove. She is who she is. She's not trying to be something that she's not. She just is. And so it's about being. It's not trying. So she's not trying to be something else. She just is. She's not trying to pretzel herself or dull herself down or not draw attention to herself. She just is. And it's not that she is drawing attention to herself, because that would be another persona, right? That's another defense mechanism, just trying to draw attention to yourself. Shining bright is never about drawing attention to yourself. That's not the goal. Shining bright is a result of just being. It's a result of being authentic. It's a result of being in your authentic self and not having these layers and this clouded, diluted version of you showing up into the world because you are trying to be someone you're not, or you're trying to prove yourself, or you're just adjusting and transforming and morphing yourself, which as little girls we become really good at when we have grown up in those kind of religious environments where we had to be like the perfect little girl or the perfect daughter or the perfect wife. There also comes when we are in toxic families, when we have high expectations placed on us by parents. So it comes from a few different places. The queen, she doesn't let external things get to her. She might pick up on the fact that other people are not approving of her. She might pick up on the fact that other people think she's arrogant, or other people think she's too big for her boots, or other people think she's too bright or drawing attention to herself, or this or that, right? She's discerning. She picks up on these things, but picking up on them is different than having that hypervigilance and scanning your environment to see what other people think. It's more just, oh, I just received that message. Cool. Right? So it's a very different kind of energy. She's more centered in herself. Her focus is not external. Her focus isn't on that scan. And so the first part of it is that hypervigilance, but the second part really is not letting what she does pick up on actually get to her. She doesn't let them dull her. And so potency comes when we potency in our authentic self, which shining bright and being vibrant is a result of that potency that we have when we are in our authentic self, when we're not showing up in the world in our personas and pretending to be someone we're not and doing all these things and being this completely different person. I actually said to someone this week, someone that knows me in real life has started listening to my podcast, and she was like, is it weird? I was like, it's not that weird, because I've actually grown into sharing my story and sharing what I believe with the world online. So I'm very comfortable and very used to that. But what I do want to make sure of is that I am showing up in the world offline the exact same way that I show up online. So the way that you hear me on the podcast, if you met me in person, I would hope that you would experience me as a person in exactly the same way, because I'm not showing up with a mask on, with a facade, trying to be someone else. I'm just as opinionated offline, I tell you. And so potency comes when we aren't just seen. We don't want to be visible. The goal is not to be visible, right? The goal for me is always to impact positively contribute to the world. That's my goal. And so my goal isn't to like shine bright or to be seen or any of these things. It used to be. I've done a lot of work in this area. But the goal is to actually be felt so that you can have that impact and that influence on people, so that through you showing up and being bright and shining bright as who you are able to help them transform their lives as a result. I've had clients that say to me, I love your work, I love listening to your modules, but actually just being around you and seeing how you live life is what's most powerful, right? And that's just me being me. That's shining bright. That's just being felt. I don't even have to try. I just show up right? And I used to try so hard. I used to look at other coaches, like female coaches online, female mentors. I used to look around at, the who's who and who's amazing and who everyone's following, right? And I used to think, and I see so many people fall into this trap, I used to think, oh, I have to be more like that in order for people to follow me. I have to be more like that in order to be impactful. And it's such a lie. It's, nothing could be further than the truth, because we all are unique and we all are different and we all have these superpowers within us when we are just being ourselves. And so when we are trying to be someone that we're not, we're actually robbing the world of the magic that is us, the uniqueness that God has poured into each and every one of us, which is it's so exciting, and it's so liberating to just go, oh, actually, I don't have to be like her. I don't have to do that and take that photo and have that angle and like all the things. You'll see it online. All the artwork is the same. All the angles are the same. Everyone wears the same hats. It's just like, guys, you can actually just be yourself. You can actually just show up and be yourself and be felt and be impactful. And so it's that owning your value and owning your enoughness that I, in and of myself, I don't actually need to try to be more valuable. Anchoring back in is actually, I am valuable. I just need to start showing up in the world as the real me, not the false version of me. Because when you do, you have so much more presence as a leader. You have so much more presence, and people are drawn to you because you're so relatable. They feel you, and they begin to get connected to you. So if you guys don't know, my history is a brand strategist. And so I work with clients, still some of my high level clients, in this realm where it's like we align their brand to who it is that they are as a person, their authentic, real self. And when we do that, it's amazing what starts to get attracted into them, because they're showing up as their real self. So all of a sudden, the right people are drawn to them, the right opportunities, things that are like, oh my gosh, this is like, feels perfect for me. And it's not a mistake. It's because you're showing up as your authentic self and you're no longer trying to be something that you're not. It's very exciting when this starts to happen. And you don't need to work so hard to be felt. It's not about saying the right thing. It's not about doing the right thing. It's about being you. It's about being the real, raw, authentic version of you, and being you without the cloudiness that comes from diluting yourself down, and understanding that it is actually you that's diluting yourself down. It's not anything outside of you. And you're able to feel more confident in yourself too. And not in an arrogant way, but just in I own my value. I own my sphere. This is my lane. I own it. I'm good at it. I'm happy in it. And it's just such a calming sensation, because you're no longer constantly hypervigilant and monitoring and looking outside of yourself for all these delicious things to light you up. You're just in the zone, you're in your lane, everything feels aligned, and you can just go and you can just run. So for the high achievers that are listening, who have a lot of energy, or usually have a lot of energy, maybe you're feeling burnt out right now, or that's a pattern for you, but usually you're very high energy. What we need to do with your high energy is actually be able to hone it in and get you to focus on your lane, on your niche, on your dream client, on you just being you and showing up in the world in that beauty and that magnificence and that magic. And that's when magic starts to happen. It's very exciting. And it's amazing because I remember, and I can even go back and watch old videos of myself, and I can see how much I'm in my own head. I can see how much I'm in my own head because I'm thinking, oh, what do I say next? Or how do I make sure I'm perceived right? Or how do I say the right thing? And so it's easier to show up when you're not in your head. It's easier to show up because there's less chaos and you just feel more centered. You're not thinking, I need to say this certain thing, or I need to be this certain way, or I need to make sure I do this and this and this. It's like, I'm just here and I'm felt and I'm in my heart and I'm speaking to you. And it's not that, I actually have notes right here in front of me. It's not that you don't have notes or you don't have structure. It's that you're not in your head. You don't have that anxiety in your head. It's the anxiety about it. It's the anxiety of, oh my gosh, I need to say the right thing, or I have to show up a certain way. That perfection. It's that perfectionism showing up again. I have to be this version of me that I have been brought up to believe I need to be in order to receive. right? So if you say, for example, had a parent who was quite hard on you, you never met their expectations, then you most likely developed a protective part of you that was like, I need to do X, Y, Z and perform and achieve in order to receive their love. And that same part of you clicks in now with clients and with business, right? I'm not going to go too deeply into that because that's like a whole rabbit warren on its own. And then you can actually just clearly differentiate yourself from your competitors because you just are you. You don't have to work hard on like, what is my point of difference? Because it is, you just felt your point of difference is that you are just you, which means that you're less burnt out because you're not trying to be someone you're not. You're not spending all this energy on the hypervigilance or on the analysis or in your head in the anxiety. So all of a sudden, like those three, I just named 3 energy drains. There's a million more out there. But those 3 energy drains, let's say we get rid of all 3 of them, all of a sudden your energy just goes whoo, and people start feeling you because your energy's not going here, here, here. It's just going there, right? So it's not focused on all these different things. It's very, very sharp and pointed, and people feel that. And I love that all this equals trust. It equals more trust in you as a person, as a brand. Whether you're in corporate and have team members, or whether you're a business owner and you have team members or clients, all of a sudden people start to really feel you. They start noticing, you'll get more and more comments, and then the wheels start to turn. You just experience more and more impact and influence in your sphere because it is so focused, and you have these ripples of impact and change on the people in your sphere of influence, the people that are around you. It's very exciting because for the female leader, that's the goal, right? For me, it's always been the goal of having more impact. It's always been the goal to have more impact, more influence, so that I can spread my message and get it out there, and that message creates transformation in the lives of other people. So there's kind of something inbuilt that's like, I want to have this positive contribution in the world. And so all of this potency and all this vibrancy just allows us to do that, and allows us to do it with so much more ease because we're not burning ourselves out. We don't have all these energy drains going off into 5 million other directions that's just completely irrelevant. So we can know cognitively that we can shine bright and there's nothing holding us back and we're strong, independent women. We can know all of these things, right, in our conscious mind, but it's not from there that our fears are sitting. It's not where the underlying real problem is, because the problem isn't just shine brighter, right? I hate it when I see advice like that online, like just do this or just do that. And it's like, well, if it was that easy, you would have done it already. If it was just a knowledge gap, it was something that you just needed to know, then the change would be easy, right? And so there's some unconscious fears that are in play when it comes to shining brighter. And so we actually have to start disentangling from them. We have to start identifying them and disentangling from them in order to show up and shine brighter and make a bigger impact in the world. And so our fears can be things like conditioning, beliefs, and experiences that we have been through. And I talk about these 3 areas all the time. I talk about the religious experiences, familial experiences, so in your family, and then societal experiences. And so a familial example might be that, let's say, a narcissistic parent or a highly demanding parent couldn't cope with attention on anyone else. And so as a child, they got frustrated at you and they told you were too much or too loud, for example, right? And that has landed you in the place where it's like, it feels wrong. I'm taking the attention off someone else. I'm not meant to draw attention to myself. When we talk about it from a religious, like if you grew up in religious Christianity, a lot of us have been taught that it's actually wrong to draw attention to ourselves. It's wrong, it's bad. And so anytime that we do draw attention to ourselves, even if it's just by being us and not because we're craving the attention, because that's a whole different ball game, right? If we're showing up craving the attention, that shows us that we have an unmet need and we have a protective mechanism that's in play that's trying to meet our needs for us. That's a whole different thing. But if we are just showing up and being us and being bright just by being us, that's completely different. There's nothing wrong with that. And then we have the societal conditioning. So these are things like friendship circles and online. This is things that we tend to just witness. And we witness other people getting cut down. We witness other people shining bright, and then behind their back, everyone's gossiping about them. Or that person's earning like heaps of money every single month, and then everyone's like, oh, but they're like this and this and this, and everyone's, And so we witness that happening around us, and we learn this constantly sends us the message that it's wrong. It's wrong to shine bright, or I shouldn't shine bright, or if I shine bright, other people are going to take me down, right? So you can see all this subconscious messaging is in us, and then that becomes then more fear. Another fear that I personally used to have, because if you've ever been in a narcissistic relationship, like a relationship with someone who's got narcissistic personality disorder, you walk away from that, and then you have like a very well-meaning, counselor or psychologist, or maybe you've read articles online that tell you they were attracted to you because you were shiny and bright, and they love taking down shiny and bright objects. Have you ever heard that before? I've read so much that has said things like that. They love taking down the strongest woman or the brightest, most vibrant woman, And so you kind of learn from that. You're like, oh my gosh, I need to actually hide that. Otherwise, I'm going to be a target for another one. So that was actually a problem for me for a little while. And it might be a problem for you. And I hope that even me just mentioning it today has created a little bit more clarity in that area for you. Because it's exhausting, right? It's exhausting when we have all these fears. It's exhausting when we have all this subconscious stuff going on. We know we can show up differently, but we're finding it challenging, or we are showing up, but it's just people aren't feeling us in the way that we know we want them to feel us, or we sense that another part of our persona is coming out. And so it's exhausting trying to be someone you're not. And so what we have to realize is that our subconscious is actively blocking what is for us. So it's actively blocking more impact, more income, more influence, whatever shining bright will get you. It's actively blocking that because shining bright doesn't feel safe. And so when we know that, we can actually start to untangle, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But if you keep going as you are, it's really frustrating because it's like, I want this, but I feel like I can't have it, or I'm trying to get it, but I also feel like I'm not getting it. And it just feels so draining, and you start to burn out really quickly, or you feel really boxed in. You feel really boxed in because you feel like you have to show up in a certain way to receive clients. You have to be what that coach told you have to be in order to get clients, or you have to be like that in order to have an impact. And that's also really draining, feeling that stifled, suppressed, boxed in feeling, when a huge part of you just wants to be liberated and just be yourself and not have to like overthink it, because it's the overthinking that's such a drain as well, like trying to conform and work out which it's like going to a wardrobe of personas and being like, which persona do I need to pull out for this scenario? And so you're constantly in your head in the wardrobe, like I have to, like, which part of me do I need to pull out? And it's so tiring. And if you feel it, then potential clients are going to feel it, and your team's going to feel it, and potential partners are going to feel it, or your husband's going to feel it, your kiddy's going to feel it, your sphere of influence is going to feel it. It's just a natural flow-on effect. But the good part of that, like the flip side of that, is once you shift out of this and you do start shining brighter, then all of those same spheres are impacted in exactly the same way, but in a positive way, which is really exciting. If you're not shining bright and people aren't feeling you, you don't have that potency, it's slow progress because you're trying to force something. You're trying to just work harder. If that's your theme, it's like, I just need to work harder, I just need to strive. And it feels like the hamster on the wheel. You're just like running really fast. It's not that you're not trying. It's not that you're not putting effort in. It's you're running so fast, but you're the hamster on the wheel. And so you're just going around rather than making real, true progress, exciting progress. And it's frustrating because you're the hamster on the wheel, and you're watching all the colleagues and everyone around you, your competitors shine brighter and going and getting the thing that you really want. And so it's frustrating, but it's your time, because it's your time to start influencing or having even more influence on the world that's around you. So the question then becomes, how do we become more potent? And really, as I said before, it's not just about, oh, I just need to shine brighter. It's about becoming the woman who does shine brighter because she is just being herself. So the work then becomes to, number one, is to start taking full ownership for this. This is the way that we are feeling. What is blocking us from being felt is we are blocking ourselves. And yes, those things might have been created from past experiences, but we are in charge of the way that we receive now. And so it's taking ownership for that, taking ownership that there's nothing outside of you that can actually dim you down. There's nothing outside of you that, like, someone's comment or like nasty comment or opinion or how they feel about you or how they react to you. It's deciding and taking ownership that I decide nothing outside of me will actually be able to alter the way that I show up in the world. Only you. It's a choice, right? The second part is untangling from those beliefs and teachings and experiences and conditioning that's landed you here today. It's not okay for women to be outspoken. It's not okay for women to shine bright. All those things that I mentioned before. It's about removing and untangling from them so that we can see more clearly that, it is okay to take up space. It is okay to shine bright. It is okay to say what we really want to say and to use and own our voices. And so that's where we untangle from those religious, societal, and familial beliefs. We then go into reclaiming our voice, our vibrance, and our value. And a part of this is really to stop censoring our own voice. And this is a part of dulling down, dimming down, pretzeling myself, right? All of the voice and the vibrance and the value stuff is like, I'm trying so hard to not be seen. And that's where like a protective mechanism has kicked in. Because if you are seen in your full vibrance, then what happens? The fear kicks in, the anxiety, the inability to be able to hold the energy and the anxiety in the space in between. And the space between showing up in your full vibrance and maybe you're not well received. Showing up in your full vibrance, maybe no one likes the post that you did when you were fully vibrant. And so it's actually learning to hold, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but hold the energy in the in-between. So reclaiming your voice, vibrance, value, so you can really take a stand for what matters to you most. Then we start building an impactful life with the capacity to shine bright, right? We make changes. It's like, what do I want? How do I show up in the world? How can I be more impactful in the world? And build that life, build that capacity into your world. And then it's about holding the energy. It's about holding the energy. Yes, as I was saying before, the transition, that in-between phase is the hardest phase, and so many don't get past that phase. So many do the run-up, they make the jump, they might do it once, and then because people weren't loving them on the other side, because they didn't get enough likes, or because their income didn't immediately go up, or whatever it is that the outcome that they were seeking, because that didn't happen, they deem it as a failure, or they allow that anxiety to kick in, and they don't have any tools and strategies and a real strategy to be able to hold themselves within that place. It's not about, having someone come alongside you and hold your hand. It's about learning how to hold yourself in that space when people think you're too bright or you're too much. Maybe it's too much for other people, and that's totally okay. But how do you hold yourself within that space? And then from there, it's about impact. Because more potency equals less effort. It's like you're not having to push the big rock up the hill because the hill goes, and you're not pushing a big rock. You're making effort, you're making steps forward all the time. Then you're feeling energized, you're feeling lit up because it's like, oh, this feels juicy and aligned and exciting, and I no longer have all those energy drains taking up my mental and emotional space. It's really exciting, and you're more impactful because you're just not blocking what is for you anymore. You are stepping out. You are the woman who can receive the things that you desire from shining bright. You are the kind of woman that does shine bright. So it's not that I have to try to shine bright. It's actually just, as I always explain, it's kind of like onion layers, right? And so it's like you've got all these layers of different personas and different conditioning and beliefs that are on top of you and that are blocking that internal gold from really shining. I need a better metaphor, don't I? It's like blocking that internal gold. Onion just doesn't cut it. It's blocking that light from being seen. So when you show up in other personas, in masks, in the good Christian girl, in other protective mechanisms, it stops the real you from just shining bright and being seen. And that's just a very natural thing that happens. It's not something that is hard work. It's just something that is. So you have to go deep enough to solve the real problem. As I said before, this isn't about just shining brighter and telling yourself to shine brighter and telling yourself to show up differently. This is about addressing the real roots of these issues that are coming up for you so you can step out of these patterns. So you can step out of the patterns and into that bright vibrance that you already are. It's not trying to be someone you're not. It's not working super hard to get there. It's just removing the layers of the things that you're not to be who you are. All right, I hope that was a helpful episode, and I would say go away and shine brighter, but I've just told you that you can't. So anyway, I hope you have the most amazing day and go and be the magnificent, amazing person that you are. Thanks for joining this expansive session. Subscribe or follow so you don't miss a show. And to help us share this message further, take a quick second to leave the Spiritually Unboxed podcast a rating and review. In iTunes, just click the reviews tab, and in Spotify, go to the main podcast page and tap the 3 horizontal lines under the podcast cover image. Now go out into the world and be the incredible masterpiece that you are. I'll see you in the next episode.